Wow. 1 second. I gotta get it out. Otherwise, I'll laugh the entire time.
No, I love it.
Okay. So my name is Desiree Venn Frederic, and I am an African living in Babylon. Oh boy. Many of her friends were Senegalese women who, if I may add this note, are the most graceful of all creatures on this planet. And she, during that time, fell in love with the verb désirer, je désire, which means I want, I desire, and held on to that name, held it in her heart. And so at 29, when she gave birth to me, after wanting her first child to be a girl child, named me Desiree, fulfilling her desire. I learned as I grew up in this world, both in Sierra Leone and other parts of Africa, in the UK, and then moving to the United States at age 7, that desire was going to play a very critical part of my reality of my existence. I was going to want a lot of things, that my spirit wanted a lot of things. My spirit, number one, wanted to be birthed in Africa, but my spirit also wanted to wander the world and be very nomadic. I've also learned, and my mother shared this with me when I was quite young, I want to say about 10, that those who come into my life have to be intentional about wanting me in their lives. I'm not the type of spirit that they can just have, I can just flow in and out, because when I come in, I do create, there's an impact. And that doesn't necessarily mean a negative thing, but it's something that's noticeable, that's something that one must welcome, because I'm not a passive spirit. The name itself does not fully describe me. And so it's always this like juxtaposition when I meet people and they have this presumption or understanding of who I am, and whether it's like they may be familiar with my write-ins or some of my content on social media, and so they formulate this idea of who I am. So she's this ultra pro-black, militant, like Mother Earth, honeysuckle, coconut oil, gypsy, goddess queen who does yoga and listens to like Talib Kweli and like, what I'm saying? And then they meet you and it's like, you may be some of those things, but not all of them. And so there's this resistance, and then you say, oh, my name is Desiree. And they're like, why isn't it like Queen Sheba? Or like, and I'm just like, wait, what? So I realized, again, in that the same context of people either wanting all of you as you are, or you give them nothing at all. Years and eons and eons and eons ago, I started a fashion blog called Narcissism. And because when the phenomenon of the blog was created and brought to my awareness, I was like, this is like ultimate narcissism. Like, because I was obsessed. There was a time I studied Greek mythology, and I was very, very like, kind of like deep in the concept of like these other realities, and studied Greek mythology and some other ancient civilizations. But I was obsessed with the story of Narcissus, and his obsession with self like brought his own demise. And I was just like, wow, this concept of blogging is that very like thing, like we're here and we're like, oh, I wore this today, I ate this, I did this. It's always the I. And I'm just like, you're gonna drown in those eyes, So I started a blog because that's what you do. You criticize blogs on blogs. We have a little more self-responsibility and self-work to say that because my maternal surname is Williams and Jones. They don't get any more generic than that. My paternal name is William and Venn Frederic, but my maternal family's name is their marriage of Williams and Jones. And, I think that's every Black American's last name, you know what I mean? Like, and it requires you, and even though I'm African, like I'm still very much connected to that Black experience, that Black American experience, because of that disconnect. You know, I can't say I knew who my great-grandparents were or great-great-grandparents were because of the, you know, the Afra and what they experienced and the literal nomadic experience and journey that they had, and the loss of ownership of their own bodies and the loss of ownership of their language and their spirituality and their, you know, their own aesthetic, and definitely all the way trickles down to the loss of name. And so I do have to self-define more than some others, and it's intentional. It's something, it's a responsibility that I carry, and it's one that I carry bravely and proudly, largely because it allows me to choose to reconnect with ancestor. It allows me to choose to, you know, to study and to know self and to trust, you know, my own DNA, you know, and to trust what, you know, the 93rd, you know, hair is telling me, and how it wants me to present and how it wants me to experience my reality. And so that's the life journey, I suppose. Still trying to figure that one out, but that's the life journey, I suppose. Yeah. Yeah. If you span the book, so some of these actually like inform my understanding of like names and like the traditions and like the rites of passages. Mm-hmm. There's one that it's in both of these issues, editions of African mythology, and then one of these, and maybe in the other. This Hair in African Art and Culture is such an interesting book, such a powerful book. And there's a section in Nomads of Niger that talks about like the significance of like words, etymology, and then how like that, I mean, that can be like, you can formulate an understanding of names through that etymology. And there's one more book, oh my gosh, you have to, this one I think you may need to read yourself.